So, I'm here having a contemplative morning, and I think I'm going to ask a few questions. I was driving this morning, I ended up in Crawford, Colorado, and I was thinking, what's the point of landscape photography? I've always grappled with the concept of what is the point. Landscape photography can be construed as elitist. A lot of the times it's called fine art photography, and that in itself is a problem. So a problem I have with landscape photography is that it is often treated as fine art photography, and that leads to a separation between normal people and landscape photographers. It's always been regarded as very difficult to make a living with landscape photography because there's not a market for it. And I think the reason that there's not a market for it is because there's such a big gap between landscape photographers and people that there's no intersection between their daily lives. When you have art that has an intersection with people, what the world needs and its daily life, then that's when you can actually make art that is relevant and important to the modern world. I think one of these issues comes from the fact that landscape photography is hard. It really is. You have to be at the right place at the right time. But people see other people's work, other landscape photographers, and they're like, how do I get that? And everybody's fallen into this trap. It turns into almost a purely technical pursuit. So you're always trying to find the newest lens, or the newest camera body, or the newest tripod, or the newest filter set. The problem is that photography is not a technical pursuit. It is in some part that you need a camera and that you have to know how to use it, but I think you should only need it enough to know what you're doing and for it to not impede you. While it's true that sharp images and different lenses can give you different effects, I don't think that's what the point is. I don't know why I'm feeling so philosophical this morning, but I woke up and I drove to where, when I was younger, I used to get oil painting lessons every week. And hold on, I'll show you in a second. So here I am, out in Crawford, Colorado, next to Needle Rock, which you can see in the background. And when I was about 12 or 13, I started taking oil painting lessons, and I just loved it. It was one of my first artistic pursuits, and that really led to photography. And so I think the reason that I'm out here this morning is because it's really easy to get caught up in newest cameras and, oh, what is Nikon or Canon releasing this week? But we have to remember that that's not why we started this, and that's not what makes great photographs. And so I think that the problem with the disconnect between fine art photographers, landscape photographers, and the real world, and the reason that a lot of landscape photographers, or photographers in general, find it hard to find work or to connect with their audiences, because there's a lot of amazing photographers, amateur and professional, that don't get the reach that they should. Or if you find yourself on Instagram with tons of followers, but nothing meaningful is happening from that, I think the reason is because there's such a big disconnect between fine art and real life. Every creative artist, whether that be visual arts, audio arts, anything, needs to find a intersection between what they do and what they love doing and their audience. Otherwise, nobody's gonna care, even if you're the greatest photographer in the world. I think the reason that YouTubers have such high success right now is because people can really connect with them. That's one of the reasons I started this YouTube vlog, is because I felt like my Instagram account and all of my Flickr, my Facebook, all of my interactions weren't that meaningful. I was just sharing an image, oh, here you go, this is what it is. But I didn't have anything to, I wasn't connecting with my audience. And I think that's really important. And hopefully with this channel I can teach things and I can help you get further with your own craft or just your hobby. When I'm just showing you my images on Instagram, that isn't helping. That's not showing anything. So I haven't been here in many years, and it's always amazing going to your childhood places and seeing what they look like. I don't think anything is less spectacular than when I was here last time. So how does one make a difference? I mean, you can sell prints and calendars, and that helps support you, and then you can make more content, but is that really making a difference? If you spark conservation change, is that a difference? One of the things I really hope to do with my photography is to inspire an audience. That's how I think we can really make changes as landscape photographers. Because if I just inspire one young kid who's watching my YouTube videos, that's an incredible thing. So I had so many people that I looked up to when I was younger, and I didn't know that it would lead me to where I am right now. So I really hope to make a difference by inspiring people with these YouTube videos and my photography. Sorry about all this heavy-handed content. I'm thinking about making a series of videos, maybe exploring this more, maybe with a more structured approach to how we can make a difference with our photography and how to connect to audiences. I hope my videos inspire you. I hope when you see them, you are like, wow, I really want to go visit that place. I want to go to Colorado. I don't want them to just be a vanity plea of like, oh, look at me, I'm having so much fun, and here's my Instagram pictures. No, I want them to inspire you to go out, book a trip. Instead of buying the newest lens, I want you to see my images. I want you to say, how did he get that? I want you to think about my composition and say, oh, I don't like that. I could do better than him. He's a crackpot. I want them to inspire you to go out and do what you love. I think that's the point. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, maybe let's have some fun. As soon as I put my raincoat away, it started raining and the sun's out. Welcome to Colorado. So the light is pretty flat this morning. But I still felt like I needed to make this video. Let's see if I can't find one landscape. Little quick landscape tip, when the light is really flat, you can get really dramatic clouds. I might even think about doing a black and white image. We'll see. We'll see what I can find. So I struggled. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make this video or not, but I decided to make it this morning because a lot of my favorite filmmakers or YouTubers inspire me to be a better person. And I know that sounds posh. I think the reason that they inspire me is because they're so real. And I wanted this video to be real. This is how I feel, this is who I am. So I guess I had to make it. So right now I'm just trying to find a composition with all the flat light. It's actually really difficult sometimes. All of these mountains would be so easy if it was just sunset or sunrise, but it's a good challenge to go out at different times of the day when you're not usually accustomed to going out and trying to find something. One thing that I've always noticed with my shots is that my first instinct is usually the thing I should listen to. So the first thing I noticed today was the greens in the hillsides. And it caught my eye, the nice late summer green. And when the light catches it, it's perfect. So I'm going to set up a really long lens. It's going to be a little unorthodox, but we'll see. And I'm going to wait for light while it's raining on me. So my friend, let me tell you once again, and you know that it's true. Forget about seeing it or hearing it. That's a pretty impressive landscape photography setup, isn't it? So for my first image, I love the way that these mountains look in the storm. And so what I'm doing is I'm using a cable release because I'm at about 450 millimeters, and even if I use the 2-second timer, the camera would still shake. So I'm letting it rest for about 10 seconds. I'm gonna take the image because it's just starting to rain. It's starting to rain hard. So there's a little bit of light peeking in on these mountains, and it just looks so atmospheric. That's the one thing about flat light, is that you can sometimes get these little rays of light through the overcast clouds, and you just get an amazing mood from it. So let's take this image 1 or 2 times. I'm shooting at f11 at a 60th of a second at ISO 100, and I'm just taking one exposure, and yeah, let's see what this looks like. Something really important is that when you're shooting in flat light, you have to really visualize your final image. That's what Ansel Adams did a lot. He was the father of modern post-processing. And visualizing what you want it to look like so that you can change the contrast, maybe up the saturation or lower the saturation, black and white. If you visualize that final image before you do any photo taking, you'll just be miles ahead. For instance, I can see a lot of variation in light but on the back of my camera it looks really flat. I know that when I take my raw image into Lightroom, I'll be able to increase the contrast quite a bit, and that'll really make the image striking. So I didn't get to have it on camera. I just had this tiny ray of light stream through and just hit the side of this hillside, and it really brought it out. One thing I love to do with the long telephoto lens, and right now I'm at 200 millimeters on this big 150 to 600 millimeter lens, I like to use layering to add more visual interest. So the ray of light really helped the front layer stand out behind the back layer. Well, I think that was a pretty successful outing. I haven't seen the pictures yet, but just the idea of connecting with your audience and me putting that out there and realizing that YouTube can really be that for me. I have filmed a lot of outros for this because I think that each one is kind of, I hate saying subscribe. So if none of those were good enough, here's a video of a lizard.